Alright, let's be real. Stellar Blade isn't just another flashy action game with cool combat and a sci-fi setting. Nah, this one hits different. The moment you step into its eerie, ruined world, it grabs you. And what really seals the deal? The enemies. These twisted, nightmarish creatures called Naytiba aren't just there to be slashed into oblivion. They're walking, screaming pieces of art, each one telling a part of the story without saying a single word. You look at them and just feel that something went horribly wrong here, like they're cursed relics of a world that lost its mind. So today we're diving into the best enemy designs that Stellar Blade throws at us. Because let's be honest, fighting them is only half the fun. The other half? Staring at them like, who hurt you, bro? From unhinged predators that crawl out of the shadows to angelic monstrosities that feel like they dropped out of a religious fever dream, these are the designs that gave us chills, made us pause mid-fight, and honestly, made the game unforgettable. Let's get into it. I'm quickly moving on to the video. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching. Oh man, let's talk about one of the most unforgettable enemies in Stellar Blade, the Stalker. If you've played the game, you already know exactly who I'm talking about. That moment when you're deep in the underground or exploring the eerie ruins of Matrix 11, and suddenly everything goes dead quiet? Yeah, that's when you know the Stalker is near. It is not just another creepy enemy, it is the first real wall the game throws at you, and it hits hard. This thing does not see you, it senses you. Every step you take, every breath, it is listening, it is smelling, and it is coming. The design? Absolutely grotesque in the best possible way. Instead of a face, it has this monstrous circular saw-covered head that looks like someone mashed up industrial machinery with a nightmare. It is not just for show either. That head is the business end of its entire combat style. When the Stalker starts revving up for what fans lovingly call the lawnmower attack, where it literally scrapes its saw blade head across the floor in a brutal charge, you learn really fast that dodging is not optional. It is survival. And that sound? You will never forget it. What makes the Stalker so brilliant is that it is not just scary or tough. It is thematic. It teaches you how Stellar Blade wants you to play. You cannot button mash, you cannot relax, and you definitely cannot make noise without consequences. It forces you to learn spacing, timing, and the importance of reading enemy behavior. It is not just a boss, it is a lesson wrapped in flesh and bone saw. And honestly, that is what makes Stellar Blade's enemy design so memorable. Every creature tells a story, and the Stalker's story is simple: adapt or get shredded. Just when you start feeling confident in your timing and dodges, Stellar Blade throws the mutated Hydra at you. And suddenly, everything changes. This is not your typical grounded enemy that telegraphs its moves and sticks to your line of sight. No, the Hydra takes the fight above your head, literally. Found in overhead chambers that already feel claustrophobic, this thing forces you to think in full 3D. You are not just watching your flanks anymore. You are watching the ceiling, the shadows, and that eerie, gurgling sound that means it is about to strike. Visually, the Hydra is straight out of a cosmic horror flick. It does not fly in any way that makes sense. There are no wings, no jets, just these fleshy, unnatural sacs that somehow keep it afloat. And the body? Constantly shifting with strange colors, like it is barely holding itself together. You can actually see the acidic fluid sloshing around inside it, and that is your first warning. This thing is not just weird, it is dangerous. When it fires, it is not just damage, it is corrosion, it is control, and it is chaos. What makes the Hydra such a brilliant design is how it breaks your rhythm. You cannot rely on the same combos that worked against ground-based threats. It forces you to use ranged options, to time your movements based on sound and visual cues, and to constantly reposition. 1 second, it is gone. The next, it is dive-bombing you with acid or creating splash zones that turn the floor into a death trap. It is unpredictable, it is fast, and it teaches you one thing very clearly. If you are not adapting in Stellar Blade, you are losing. The Corruptor is one of those enemies in Stellar Blade that does not just attack you, it infects the entire battlefield. When you first see it roaming the ruins of Eidos 7, your brain tries to make sense of its shape. Is that a horse? Kind of. But then the uncanny details kick in. Its limbs bend the wrong way. Its flesh pulses like it is alive with rot. And where a head should be, there is this throbbing green tumor bristling with metal thorns. It is unsettling, and that's exactly the point. This is not a boss that charges at you screaming. It poisons everything around you and lets the environment do the rest. What makes the Corruptor so effective is how it changes the way you play. Suddenly, you are not just dodging claws or avoiding lasers, you are managing space. It spits acidic blobs that stay on the ground, forcing you to weave through a minefield that gets worse the longer the fight drags on. And then there is the toxic rain, which feels like the game's way of saying, you cannot just stand still and play it safe. Every second you hesitate, the Corruptor is reshaping the arena to its advantage. It's like a living area denial weapon wrapped in grotesque muscle and rusted metal. And the wildest part? It all makes sense in the lore. The Corruptor is not just a monster. It is a tactical piece in the Naytiba hive mind's larger strategy. It softens targets, controls terrain, and spreads chaos, just like a good bioweapon should. Its grotesque, almost tragic form reflects that twisted purpose. It is not the most aggressive enemy in Stellar Blade, but it is easily one of the smartest. Fighting it is like playing chess in a burning room, if the room was also melting beneath your feet. The moment you lay eyes on the Gigas in Stellar Blade, you instantly understand why humanity never stood a chance. This thing is not just big, it is colossal, like the Earth itself decided to grow muscles in rage. Found in the desolate wasteland, Gigas lumbers across the battlefield with the kind of presence that makes you feel like an ant trying to dodge falling buildings. And then there is that head, if you can even call it that. A massive spinning biological chainsaw ringed with rows upon rows of jagged teeth. It is as if evolution took a sledgehammer to common sense and said, yeah, this works. The fight with Gigas is pure adrenaline. Unlike the twitchy, agile enemies you face earlier in the game, this one is a slow-moving apocalypse. Its attacks are huge, with mile-long wind-ups that feel like mini earthquakes, and when it slams down, the shockwaves force you to react or get flattened. You are dodging boulders the size of cars, rolling between its legs, and trying not to panic when that saw head starts spinning. Every move you make feels like it matters. This is not a finesse fight. It is survival through focus and timing. What makes Gigas special is that it taps into something primal. It is a boss that makes you feel small, not just in size, but in power. And yet, the beauty of the design is that you can win. You can outmaneuver it. The battle turns into a visual spectacle, a test of everything the game has taught you so far. Gigas does not just punish you for being sloppy, it rewards you for being brave. And that's what makes it one of the most memorable Alpha Naytiba encounters in the game. You do not just beat Gigas, you survive it. There is a moment in Stellar Blade when you stop seeing the Naytiba as just beasts, and that moment is called the Juggernaut. This enemy is a turning point, both in gameplay and in lore. Found deep within Matrix 11, the Juggernaut is a towering humanoid figure that looks like it walked out of a fallen civilization's darkest memory. It is not crawling on all fours or shrieking like a feral creature. It stands tall, grips a forged weapon, and stares you down like a rival. There is something unsettlingly familiar about it, like it remembers being human and resents what it has become. From the second that Flaming Hammer comes crashing down, you realize this fight is a whole new level of punishment. The Juggernaut is not just brute force, it is discipline. Every swing is calculated. Every move has intent. It is not spamming attacks, it is reading you. You have to dodge smart, not fast. The shockwaves from its hammer shake the arena, and the fire damage punishes greedy combos. This is not the kind of enemy you can flail through. You have to match its rhythm, or get crushed. What really makes the Juggernaut stand out is the storytelling baked into its design. Up until now, the Naytiba were wild and chaotic. But the Juggernaut, it is different. It hints at the horrifying possibility that the Naytiba are not devolving. They are evolving, learning, remembering. It fights like a warrior because somewhere in that monstrous shell, something ancient and strategic has reawakened. And when you finally bring it down, it does not feel like a win. It feels like a warning. The first time you face Karakuri in Stellar Blade, it feels like walking into a fever dream you can't wake up from. Located in the haunting Vermilion Garden, this elite Nighttiba is a terrifying blend of corrupted machinery and tortured organic matter. It is part spider, part android, and part something far worse. At the center is a perfectly still porcelain android face, expressionless and calm, which only makes the screaming human faces writhing around it even more disturbing. It is like a broken lullaby wrapped in steel and pain, a visual gut punch that immediately tells you this thing should not exist. But Karakuri is not just here to creep you out, it is here to push your skills to the limit. The fight is a whirlwind of chaos. It fires off massive sweeping lasers that punish you if your timing is even slightly off, and if you are not comfortable with aerial movement, it will eat you alive. The real kicker? Those horrifying Kokishi minions. They swarm you like angry dolls from a haunted toy shop, forcing you to juggle crowd control while dodging death beams. It is a masterclass in multitasking under pressure, and it is as fun as it is stressful. What makes Karakuri so memorable, though, is the deeper meaning behind its design. This is not just a monster, it is a metaphor, a broken fusion of creator and creation, of innocence and horror. Karakuri reflects one of Stellar Blade's core questions. Where does humanity end and machinery begin? It is the kind of enemy that sticks with you, not just because it is hard to beat, but because it says something. When the fight ends and the silence returns, you are not just catching your breath, you are thinking. And that is exactly what great enemy design is supposed to do. Abaddon is where Stellar Blade stops holding your hand and throws you straight into the fire. This is not just another cool-looking boss. It is the game's way of saying, alright, let's see what you've really learned. Set in the harsh, open expanse of the Great Desert, Abaddon strides in like an executioner from another world. Towering, humanoid, and impossibly fast, it wields two massive swords that seem more like extensions of its rage than actual weapons. You cannot just mash your way through this one. You either fight smart or get destroyed in seconds. The visual design is pure nightmare fuel in the best way. Abaddon's body looks like it has been ripped open from the inside, with jagged spikes bursting through its flesh like something too powerful to be contained. There is a sick, divine beauty to it, like a demon who ascended instead of fell. Lightning crackles around it, and each swing of its blades feels like a judgment. The elegance in its movement, combined with the raw savagery of its strikes, makes the whole fight feel like a deadly dance. And just when you think you have a rhythm, Abaddon pulls out an unblockable combo that forces you to react perfectly, or die trying. What sets this boss apart is how tightly its gameplay and lore are intertwined. Abaddon is the first enemy that demands real mastery of Blink, the game's high-risk, high-reward counter mechanic. If you have been dodging your way through fights so far, this is the wall that stops you cold. It forces you to engage with the deeper mechanics, to stop reacting and start reading. And when you finally pull off that perfect blink against one of its fatal slashes, that moment is electric. It is the game's way of saying, you earned this. Abaddon is not just a boss, it is a rite of passage. The Elder Nighttiba is not just the final boss of Stellar Blade. It is the culmination of everything the game has been quietly building toward. When you first step into that final chamber beneath Xion, it does not roar or screech like the monsters that came before. Instead, it descends like a divine figure, almost serene, draped in flowing gold and white, with feathered wings that shimmer like light refracting through glass. For a split second, you hesitate, not out of fear, but awe. And that is exactly when the game hits you with its cruelest truth. This angel is the origin of all your nightmares. What follows is a boss fight that can only be described as orchestral in scale. The Elder Nighttiba does not just attack, it performs. Each phase ramps up both visually and mechanically, starting with graceful sword duels and ending in divine bombardments of radiant energy. You are blinking, dodging, parrying, and comboing with everything you have learned, and even then, it feels like you are barely hanging on. It punishes hesitation, rewards precision, and demands total focus. There is no cheese, no shortcuts. If you win, it is because you earned it. But what truly makes this fight unforgettable is the storytelling behind it. The Elder Nighttiba is beautiful by design, eerily so, because it embodies the core theme of Stellar Blade. that unchecked divinity, perfection, and control can lead to devastation. It is a fallen angel not just in form, but in philosophy. As you bring it down, you are not just ending a boss battle, you are unraveling the myth that something divine is always something good. The final moments are haunting, not because of what you fought, but because of what it meant. The Elder Knight Tiba is the perfect finale, poetic, tragic, and impossible to forget. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.